everybody. We have a very nice group, and I think we have very good technician. It seems it's working perfectly. We can hear perfectly on Zoom, and I hope we can hear you and we can see you. So we will start our project, and as every project, we have to actually give you the overview of where we want to go with this project. And I must say, when we designed this project, we didn't believe what we are getting in. We thought this is going to be an easy project. We felt that it is time for palliative care clinicians to be more thorough when it comes to understanding research. And I think that was the idea of starting this project. And can I have it ready? Yes, I'm ready, please. And I think it's this one here. Okay. And we have started, this is a project. This is a project that has gone on now for 1.5 years. And in this project, actually, we have come together people with different expertise, people with expertise in research. And I think here the APC and Navarra team are those who are, let's say, the most experienced. And we had people experienced in education, and I think that were all the participants: Greece, Navarra, Galilea, Navarra, APC and hospice and the university. And then we had people who were more interested in education. So it was quite a nice mixture. That's what we thought. But it was somehow also a big, let's say, challenge to try to get to our objectives. You can see here the partners. Do they see it also on Zoom? Yes. Okay. You can see here the partners that have been involved. Juana made a very nice presentation. Thank you, Juana, for doing the presentation. And we are sorry you are not here. Juana Predoiu actually is the lead of this project on behalf of Hospice Casa Speranței, who's the coordinator. We have also some associate partners who wanted to be informed about the results. Unfortunately, they are not here with us today. What was the aim? The aim was really to bring basic research competencies to the clinical practitioners in palliative care. And how did we thought we are going to do this? By raising awareness about why research is important and what parts in research are important to integrate in the clinical practice, and then also to increase the capacity of the clinicians to do research. And this short-term training is actually a step in this direction. And also then, and I'm happy, I heard from many of you, I'm reading, is it really relevant for my patient's caseload? So how can we increase the uptake of evidence-based into the clinical practice? If there were more outputs, that's how a project is structured, that's the project was structured, and this was about core research competency framework for the palliative care multidisciplinary team. And this, I think, was the biggest struggle that we had in the project. And I think you have experienced already some materials that we produced. The framework is there. It was coordinated by Navarra, by University of Navarra. Carlos Centeno, he can't be today with us, but he has here his team representing. And it was translated into Greece, into Romanian. Of course, it was produced in English and in Spanish. And we have also the self-assessment quiz that you have already filled in, I hope, because we will need it. So this framework is not something very simple. I mean, you can see here the, let's say, the synthesis, the 1 minute, 2 minute synthesis with the 7 domains and then the 17 competencies. But when we wrote the framework, we tried to explain, and here they are translated, that they look very nice, I must say. We can be proud of this output. But if we go then deeper for each of the competencies, so under one domain, we might have more competencies. The competency is the one that you saw in the synthesis, and then there is an explanation of the competency and also some examples how that you are sure that this competency is really there for you. I mean, how, okay, you might read there, I'm able to effectively communicate the content and relevance of clinical research findings to various audiences. So you might say, yes, I am. But then if you go deep and see, okay, what do I need to do? You have examples. I need to be able to talk to colleagues, to talk to the general community, to talk to sponsors who are, I need to be able to produce an article, I need to be able to produce a poster, I need to be able to give an oral presentation. And you would say, oh, maybe I'm good at oral presentations, but not so good really at articles. And I could hear, you know, this is a need that we have here in this group. I know that some of you are either training or students or master students or PhD students. So publishing is something that you can't escape. So I think that this is important. So this is about the and then the self-assessment quiz. Please, can you raise your hands? Who did the self-assessment quiz? Okay. So some did, some didn't. So those who didn't, you do it before the ending of the meeting. You don't have your coffee break. I'm joking. Yeah, but we want this because we had a lot of discussion about the quiz and the self-assessment quiz, saying, can you, without really knowing content, appreciate how good you are in doing something? Yeah. And we tested it with Romanian participants, and it seemed, I mean, at least how the responses were there, like on a Gauss curve, it seemed that, yes, there were not everybody said, yes, I'm excellent, or everybody said, no, I'm not able. So it seems it is working. And we produced, after those comments, a more user-friendly format. It was the Excel file. And the one that you've got. So what you do after you do this, you also get here, I don't know if you can see this here, you also see for each domain what is somehow your I can't say situation, I'm sorry, Sheila. Yeah.
Level of competencies.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. I don't know if she agrees, but that's what I wanted to read. So, are you actually over 60, or are you here at the 40-60, which is at the limit, or are you below 40? Because I think that's saying, you know, I'm just a beginner in research. I'm there, and maybe I'm able to do something, but I still need supervision. Or over 60, you really can do it by yourself, or you can actually even lead other groups to do it. And some of you would say, maybe I feel like a 40, but I need to act like a 80. Yeah, but I think it's important to understand where you stand. Yeah, so, and we hope this quiz is helping to identify strong points and to identify also learning. The second output is critical reading and academic writing, and I'm happy to hear this is the topic of interest for everybody. It's coordinated by Transylvania University, and it will be translated in 4 languages, and it has 4 webinars attached to this output and a guide book. So what we started doing, and some of you who have worked in EduPal are familiar with this framework. We started to do the curriculum, and we divided it in 3 main modules, and you will experience actually part of this module during the training. And for each module, we said, okay, this is what we want as a learning outcome, and then what we want on cognitive level, on abilities, and then on attitudes, and this is how we are going to organize the session. So the guide will come with this curriculum, and will come with the PowerPoints attached to it, and the exercises that we will use. So I hope this is something to be useful. For each session, we have also a lesson plan. So this is more, and you are now here actually in a kind of training where you are learning for yourself, but you are also learning to bring this message forward to your people in the team. So it is somehow on this concept of also train the trainers. So I hope this will help. So that's why we are presenting also the material. Webinars, there were wonderful webinars, and I'm hearing that with all that we had these webinars, Sheila was doing one, Catherine Welsh was doing one. It was about how to write an article, but I think what I'm hearing, okay, the theory is out there, but what, practical steps, do I need mentoring, do I need guiding in this one? And then we had a webinar with Carlos on journal clubs, because this is a nice way to bring research into your teams, and with Charles Van Gunten about ways of doing journal clubs more friendly, attractive, let's say. The third one is translating issues. So when you are in the clinical practice, you encounter problems. Are these problems that others have studied, and then you need to go and see your literature, or are these problems that other needs to know, and you have to present them to the world, and how are you going to transfer them into research projects? The coordinator is supposed to discuss afterwards, and again, we will have materials available in the 3 languages. We did the flow diagram of the research, and we also are almost there with this guide for developing the research proposal. And what is new will be this video. So people who have been in the research struggle, clinicians, and they will talk about where they started and how they found the way forward on different items and on different. And here is the flow chart. So some will take, I don't know, the previous research finding, or how they structure their aim and objectives and so on. So this is a work package that needs to have more input in it. And then the last one, coordinated by EAPC, is something which is focused on the scientific part of the framework of the domain scientific thinking. And I think, I think this is again going to be a very, very, very interesting training. It's going to be a long training, 5 days. The APC and Sheila has already designed the thinking behind this training, and it will have also a guide to that quantitative methodology. It's not that there are not such things out there. There are, but how can we make them more simple and more relevant to the palliative care people and to the clinicians who are busy? So they have also lesson plans. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it's in the frame. Okay. We have multiplier events, and congratulations to our Spanish colleagues. They have done theirs, and it was very successful. And I think some people from Zoom have participated in the multiplier event. They were supposed to have 55 people that, but they had over 100 participants, some on Zoom, some in the classroom, and the two in Spain, in Greece and Romania will follow. And we will have probably the Romanian ones with national conference. The short-term trainings, this is where we are now. And Galilea was responsible for organizing. We are supposed to have 23 people. We are happy we have 25 in the room, plus, I don't know, 16 out there on the Zoom. And this is the agenda, you know it already. This is the short-term training in Bucharest. So put it in your agenda, 26th to 30th of September, a face-to-face meeting in Bucharest, which will have, this is complicated. So which will have actually an online part where all people from all over the world can see it, and then they can come up in a kind of blended format with questions. But then it will have also in-house training for people who I encourage you to be, have a community who will be there and will be able to work, I think, from an idea to build up their research, really their research project, going through all the difficult bits. I'm sorry, it's very small, so you can't see it. So this is the calendar. We need to finish it by the end of the year. And these are the things we really need to finalize. Yeah. So they are in various stages of done. And this is what RESPACC, which is the short name of research, for competencies for palliative care clinicians, but they have done a very nice graphic attached to it. Okay, so now this is the quiz, and most of you have done it. So I want you to open your telephones and poll everywhere and respond. Ooh, oh, oh. We have already responses. So someone was curious about poll everywhere when you entered and you answered already. We have, I don't know how many responses, 80, I don't know. It's changing, yeah, people are still voting. Have you voted already? Okay. Okay. Looks like that is product. I'm not sure how many responses we have. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, do you need some more time to vote? I guess. Okay. Everybody responded. Okay, so not the most useful instrument. I mean, it's although we have a high percentage of you who said it was very useful, it was helping you. I think it is probably 8. I don't know how we will do that. So we have to get there with averages and see what is our score. Some people were down for saying it was somehow useful, and what we want to know is why was it useful? So even if it was somehow useful, what was it actually helping you identify a strong point in doing research? So because this was for doing research, making you aware of where you stand, from what did you identify? Yes, I'm good at doing this. That's a very good question. Sheila was always very clear with the important parts. For this project, we need to have pictures to show to the funders that we really had. Is somebody who's uncomfortable at being in the picture and is not giving us permission, because I'm almost thinking we need a written permission for these photographs to have them and to present them. And we would also want to tweet and to, promote what is happening here. So is somebody uncomfortable? At least verbally we need to know, yeah? Okay, it seems no. Do we need to have a written thing? No, it's okay. Verbal agreement, it's registered actually. So now it's time to speak up. If you don't want to, nobody know? Okay, so we can have photos. Thank you. Okay, so I'm seeing answers coming up. I think being an open question, this needs a little bit more time. Please also, colleague from the Zoom, vote. Ah, it's more. Okay. So yes, we are learning. So with Paul everywhere, there are more answers than we can see here. What is what, and it's very interesting because it's also somehow organizing it. Who were what were the most answered question, and it seems that what we are good is somehow linked with what we are as palliative care clinicians, because I'm seeing communication, teamwork, cooperation with team, good with communication, and then also management skills that we've got. But there are also other answers here. So ethics and regulatory frameworks, searching in databases. I think that was there at some point as well. Also attention to details. So maybe some people who are doing research, and I think this is a strength of research. It learns you to be very precise and very well organized and being careful with details. Some people, and I'm happy to see that we have also an answer. I'm strong when it comes to methods to do research. I think clinical problems, identifying clinical problems, study management, identifying the context and if the study fits into the context. And somebody was saying yes, domain 3, 4, and 7. Scores over 70%. Yeah, that was there. And somebody said, I'm good in organizing my time. So thank you very much. And then the next question comes, what did you identify as learning points? So where were the scores? Can we move it? Next slide. That's okay. I think we just have to activate it from all everywhere because now we are on this one. Yeah. It's coming up. The last one. Yes, so did you find the next question appeal to you? Yes, so this is what is the place for you? Where is the gap in your understanding, and what do you need to learn more about research? We'll see it immediately on the but it's not there. Okay. What do you identify as your learning needs after doing the quiz? So I think this is almost the answer for our next short-term training. Yeah. Okay. Concepts, terms, analyzing data, data management, research method comes statistics, yeah, qualitative research, data analysis, statistics, going up and up, analyzing data, research concept and terms. Thank you. That's for today. Thank you. Somebody was writing that. Okay, it's going down, but still 2 answers. Statistics, everything. Okay. Analyzing data, research methods, research concepts. Okay, so there is openness to learn. And I hope this will be just an opportunity and a pleasant opportunity. So I think these are our answers, and this is the preparatory session. And I'm aware that we are a little bit, let's say, so with finalizing your responses, I'm saying again, welcome to our first short-term training in the RESPACC project. If you have questions, please, about the project, it's here. We can discuss them. You can note them down. We can address them in the next sessions. But if there is a burning question now, I'm happy to take it. Colleagues from Zoom, was it clear? Could you understand what we were trying to say? Yeah. Okay. You have a question? Not really. Okay, so I know we are a little bit early, but that's never a problem. The problem is when you're late. So I understand that coffee is shortly available in the room, next room. And we will have, it's 20 minutes past, I don't have, 23 minutes, okay, so we have half an hour break, so we will be here 7 minutes before, what time? Okay, so we will be, okay, so 10:45 we will be back, okay?
On the first row, and there is signing there.
Okay. Okay, so 10:45 we come back for our next session. Thank you. And also a break for Zoom. See you at 10:45.
We can stop the recording during the break if somebody from Galilea is there.
Okay. So, can we start? The Zoom participants are lost. Juana is conscious, she's back. Andrea is conscious, he's back as well. Welcome. I hope you had a nice coffee break, individually or in groups. It's such a pleasure. I'm really happy we have you together with us on the Zoom, but I must say you must envy us because we are here together and being able to interact. So please put in your diary September and come to Bucharest so that we are all together in physical form. So we will start our first session, Philosophy of Science. And it was a challenge for me to develop the material. It was a great learning experience in doing this material. I'm really looking for feedback to see if I was able to translate what I learned in clear concepts and that you can pick up and understand. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, we have an expert here, Sheila. So I will be very good in asking, you know, that joke, a big cardiac surgeon, he was giving the same talk and his driver was saying, you know, I'm really fed up with your talk. I heard it so many times, I can do it. And they say, okay, you go and do it. So he went up there and he gave the talk and nobody asked no question. But this time, somebody raised his hand and said, no, I have a question. And he asked the question. He said, you are asking such a simple question. Even my driver back there can answer to the question. So I will say, if you ask a difficult question, we have the professor here who knows how to answer it. Okay, so let's start with the course. What are the objectives for this session? They look as being a multitude, but I think they are simple, let's say more in the cognitive area, and it is more like understanding what we mean when we say that word. I think if we would study not in the clinical field, but in philosophy, probably we will not struggle with these terms because they would be terms that we use frequently. So I expect that after we do these sessions, you will be able to define some key concepts like ontology, epistemology, axiology, deductive approach, inductive approach, abduction. So these are things I'm sure you're all familiar in the morning when you wake up. That's the first thing that you're thinking of. So no way, yeah. And then also, I think it's important to explain some philosophy identities. And I think, you know, this seems somehow on top there, but it's not on top there. It's in here. It is our beliefs, it is our assumptions. And sometimes we are conscious about them and sometimes we are not, but they impact the way that we think about reality and want to do research and are convinced about what is a good research or truth coming from research. And then we want to understand how these things, which are written there and seems like big words, are influencing the way we do our research and collect the data. This is the cognitive part. Ability. I think we all need not maybe to understand when we read, we need to understand what is there, but first we need to understand what we are thinking. And I asked you to fill in the hard questionnaire. I want to see how many of you did fill in the hard questionnaire. Okay, most did it, because I found this questionnaire, it comes from the research in the business world, but I found it very appropriate for this topic, and I think we can translate some concepts in other disciplines for what we are doing here. And then I think it's also the challenges and misconceptions. Philosophy of science. this is the title. What is it meaning? Where did it start? It means actually to study the foundation, the methods, how to build scientific knowledge, the methods and the implication of scientific knowledge. When we say foundation, we have to answer the question, what is really science? What is science, what is not science? When we say methods, it means how am I really building on what is existing, new knowledge, new science, and how does this imply, what is the implication for my work? And I put a little bit of history because I thought how fortuitous we had this meeting in Athens, because if we look back where this all started, it started with the academy, Plato's academy, 350 before Christ in Athens. And you have here the picture of Raphael, and in the middle, I don't know if you can see them, already you have two philosophical stands, if you can say so. This is Plato, and he's pointing the world of ideas, yeah, upwards. And this is Aristotle, he's pointing down. And this is biology, he's the founder, yeah, of science of biology. So already you have two stances, yeah, here. So, and this is Athens that we are all going to explore and where it started. So is there a difference? And I wrote here, actually, it started as philosophy, trying to understand truth. And then science, a few hundred years ago, was developing its own, its own way of, its own remit to, and it was becoming separate from philosophy. So if we look, what are they actually talking about? They are both science and philosophy are seeking truth, but they are seeking it through different modalities. Yeah, more through debate. Yeah, and we had Socrates Maieutica. Yeah, this was trying to find out the truth, find out what is happening. And science, the way it started to separate in philosophy, it was through more objective things, observation, doing experiments, repeating the experiments and verifying things are happening the same way or the same results with the experiment. But both actually, after doing the reflection, doing the debate, they were observing and experimenting, they were coming to a result and to a conclusion. And you see opposite, sorry. And they were using philosophy's more logic behind, and here, yeah, and the principles of logic one confirming your argumentation and your conclusion. And here it is, also your groups of peers. So this is somehow the transition to what is actually the core of this presentation. And I would like to start by asking you and you on the Zoom this question. When you start your research project, it might be round, it might be small, it might be whatever size you want. What are you thinking first? When you start your research project, what is the first thing that you're thinking at? Yay. Sorry? You start to wonder, what is happening. So you start having a moment where you wonder, okay, somebody, what is the problem that you want to address? I have a deadline, so a pragmatic approach. I have a deadline, it doesn't matter, it has to be there. Okay. I have a need. What is the explanation? What is happening? What are the mechanisms?
My patient has a need.
My patient has a need. I'm observing something. How do I explain that? Okay. Can I do it differently? Can I change something? Is it going to be better? Okay. Okay, let's hear. Maybe there is something in chat here. What about you when you start your research project? What are you, what are you thinking? I think I need to talk to the camera, not to the computer. I'm so learned to talk to the computer. Okay.
To plan my project.
I need to plan my project and deadlines and clear timelines, activities, of course. Something else. Okay. So basically, what you're thinking, who is it relevant with your research question? I put other questions there. But are you really thinking about this? So are you thinking about your research design? Are you thinking about your assumptions? What is reality? What is behind there? What am I seeing? Why am I seeing it? What would convince me this is true or not? Am I thinking about my research philosophy? Yes. Oh, Elena, bravo. Let's change places. Okay, so some of us, yes. Most of us, included, no. And I came across this, this onion. It's called the research onion. And it comes from, again, research in the business world. I hope it is relevant for us. I could find relevance in it. And it says that usually we are zooming in the middle. We want the juicy part, straight to the point. We are busy people. We don't have time to, so we are not thinking about what are the outer layer. We want the inner layer. The problem is we might end up with something which is not consistent. And we think about data collection, data analysis, participants. I can bet, you know, I've seen my master's students doing their dissertation over and over. And the first question was, do I do a survey? Do I do an interview? So that's the first thing they're thinking about. Do I have many patients or do I have just a few? So what kind of, so they are thinking, you know, here, something here. But actually, if you see, there are several and several layers. It's the first layer. It's the first. It's the first layer here, which is your philosophy, and this is about you and your assumptions. And whatever stance you are taking, we are bringing those assumptions with us. And it's important to understand them. Then the second thing is the approach. What kind of approach? Am I testing the theory through deduction, or am I building theory through induction, or am I doing a kind of mixed thing, abduction? And then am I doing quantitative or qualitative, or I like Maria. We want to be friends with everybody, but it's complex, yeah, it's okay, it sounds like, but what is actually behind? And then, is it more, if it's quantitative, is it more experimental, or is it more observational? You have here your part. Or is it, if it's qualitative, am I going to look at documents? Or am I going to do ethnography, which is more complex, we present, or am I going to do a kind of induction and really build a new theory? And am I doing a grounded theory approach? And then is the other layer. Is this just one observation? Is it cross-sectional? I'm looking at whatever I studied once, and that's it.
Daniela, the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me? Thank you, Anna.
Yes.
I will show, I'm doing my exercises with the microphone. Okay. Or am I doing an observation, or am I following my patients or my cases or whatever I'm doing there longitudinal in time? And then I'm coming, okay, data collection, how am I collecting? So, what are these terms meaning? The philosophy is a combination of these things. So what are they meaning? And I want for you, I don't want you to tell me, I want you to have on one column, ontology, axiology, epistemology. And the other, you have A, B, C, D. So please write on your paper, one, what would fit for one. Ontology, what would fit, A, B, C, or D, or maybe more. axiology, what fits for us? What do you think at this moment? Yeah, so you have to group actually one from here with 1, 2, 3, 4 from here. You've succeeded? Okay. Can we move? Because afterwards you will see the answers in the slides. So it is just for you to try to, you know, have your own thoughts put on the paper. Okay. So basically, your research philosophy is built on the answers and the assumptions that you have in these two areas, ontology and epistemology. And ontology, you had to put something alongside it. Basically, comes from, and here I think again the Greek people, it was not a fair question because the Greek people, you know, there is the words have, and what we learned in this project is words have power for the Greek people. Yeah, it was very interesting. I think, Sheila, we need to do a kind of research of what was happening in our project. Really, from the cultural point of view, it was really, each culture was coming forward with its own strengths and its own assumptions behind. And words have power, and most of our words come from here. So ontos means being, existence. Yeah, I put here nature. Yeah, and logos means science, debate, talk about. Aliki come with more nouns. So it is the science of being. Yeah. What is there? And you have here a more elaborated description. So ontology refers to the assumption about the nature of reality. And ontology is actually a system of beliefs that reflects an interpretation of an individual about what is a fact. In simple terms, it is actually answering us what we consider reality is about. And I think it is maybe easier if you see here the examples. So from the ontology assumption, and please think reality is much more complex, but I try to make this session as simple as possible. So you can have, we can be in one of these categories. We can be in the category where we say there is one reality. It is objective, we can find it out. And this reality exists independent of us. And this reality, we can explain it accurately, we can explain it specifically with a description, usually looking at this reality. So this is one ontological assumption, singularity. Yeah? So the reality is there, it is objective, I can, it exists independently of what I'm thinking, and I can describe it. There is then the other assumption, the multiple reality. So this is realism, this is relativism, this is relative, because yes, there is a reality out there, but I cannot separate that reality from my perception of it. So I'm perceiving it, and actually that reality is not one reality, is a complex reality, and it is the creation of the several interpretations that we have of that reality. So this is another ontological assumption. Another ontological assumption is reality is complex, and it may be one, but it may be many, interpretable. And maybe it's more easy if we do this exercise, there is a picture. What reality do you see in that picture? Nicoletta says, the reality that I'm seeing in that picture is a bald head. Theodora? I'm seeing a head of a person who is ill. I'm seeing a question mark. That's the reality that I'm seeing there. Okay, thank you. What are you thinking on Zoom? What is the reality you see there? Others. Okay, so I'm sorry I repeat this for your colleagues who are on Zoom because you didn't have the microphone. So what Bogdana says, for me it's very simple what I'm seeing there. I'm a young oncologist. I'm an oncologist. I'm seeing here a young patient. He has probably, I think he's a kid. He has probably lymphoblastoma. And he has chemotherapy. Okay, thank you, Bogdana. What about others? Aha. Okay, I wonder, is it actually the famous singer who says, nothing compares to you? Yeah.
Because this reality could be one reality, but not what I am seeing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, somebody else. Okay, no more questions? Oh. Somebody else? No? Good. So, what reality do I see in the picture? Actually, it's up to the assumptions that I made. I mean, the reality is a question mark. It is a bold person. It can be as simple as that. Or it can be much more complex because I'm already giving it, I'm coming from a different assumption point of view. I mean, Bogdana, she was even not batting her eye. She was saying, this is a kid, lymphoblastoma. I mean, yeah, he's young, you know? So I already put a meaning to that through another meaning. And I put here, because this is going in the direction you are saying, this is a wonderful thing that happened for the hospice. They did a movie. It is the Tree of Wishes. And this lady here, she's a child, yeah. And she is playing wonderfully the hero. And it is about hospice, what hospice is doing, but in a real movie, artistic movie, and how stories are together with the illness and how they present it. And it's beautiful. I think the team that made it free of charge from the hospice was led by our PR director. And I was going to when they first broadcast it, and what I was impressed, and that's why I put this here, the child who was accepting to cut her hair to experience. She was 12 years when she started, and it took like 2 years to make the movie. It was the pandemic as well. She was so mature. She was talking about life, about what hospice is, and she said, I learned that I always have to give mom a hug when I go away, because I'm not sure, you know, this is not the ultimate reality. And so she's here bold, so it could be her. In my mind, when I saw that picture, I thought about her. I thought about this. It could be this soldier who was sent to Ukraine, or who is from Ukraine, I don't know. And he cut his hair before he went into the army. It could be his head from behind. Or it could be this. Thank you for guessing. This was one of my favorite singers some time ago. Yeah, and she had a passion. Yeah, both was a passion. So it was, what is reality? Is it my interpretation? Am I in multiple realities? Am I this kind of person with assumption? There are multiple realities out there, yeah? And we all created a meaning for it. Or am I in that assumption? There is just one reality, come on. It's a bold person, she has 2 years, I can measure it, they have practically one. I can measure her conference, and this is the reality. And if I stand there, what are you talking about blastoma? What are you talking about the surgeon? It's different. We are looking differently at reality. We have different assumptions. Okay? So it might be one, it might be more, it might be, yes, it is a bold person, but that bold person, yeah, it's one and many, that bold person, I can measure her and see, you know, is she an elderly, is she a young person or so on, but also I can attach meaning. Epistemology. So ontology is, what is the nature of reality? Is it one? Is it more? Is it many or one? Epistemology is, how do I know that this is acceptable knowledge? How do I know about truth? What is convincing me this is truth? If we look at the article, what is convincing me what they have written there is really true? Is it the numbers? Is it the stories? Is it what is convincing me? And here, some of us will be convinced by things that can be measured, are presented objectively. Some will be convinced by meaning attached to what is there. And some will say the reality is so complex. We need also to measure some parts, and we need also to interpret what we find. And I think from very simplistic, again, I'm sure this is much more complex than I presented here, but I'm trying to make it for me to understand and hopefully also to present it as simple as possible. So if I say, yes, there is a reality there, I can find it out if I use the proper tool, and here becoming validated tool and whatever, and I can measure it. And what is that meaning for me as a researcher? It means I look at that reality from outside. I'm not in the fishbowl, I'm outside, and I'm looking objectively at it and trying not to put my biases in. Yeah, I'm trying to look at it, measure it, use a tool which is objectively measuring it, and then I'm taking some conclusion of what I've seen and what are the results of my measure. So this is objectivity. So this is the assumption. Yes, I'm looking and I'm measuring it, and that's how I'm finding out the truth. The other one, the other epistemological assumption is subjectivity. Okay, it is actually coming from the perspective that the assumption, the assumption that the truth there, to understand it, I have to give it a meaning. And in order to give it a meaning, I can't just stay outside there and observing it. I have to interact with participants. I have to be in the fishbowl. I have to dig deep and do and listen, you know, to you and you and you and you, and try to extract meaning and to interact with the context and to understand. It's not enough just to look at it, but I have to understand the culture, the context in what these events are happening. Because if I take it outside from that context, it might not have the same meaning. So this is objectivity. And then there is this other one where we say, okay, complexity of reality needs mixed methods and needs also measurement and interpretation. So how do they combine in philosophies? So if we look at the ontological assumption, there is one reality out there that we can, if we use the proper methods, we can find out and we can And combined with the epistemological assumption, I can measure it. I can, I'm not sure the colors are good enough. I don't think you see what is written. If I measure it with a reliable tool, so this ontology plus this epistemology means as research philosophy positivism. Then the other one, which says, yeah, the realities are many because they are the results of our consciousness, of our conscious understanding of them. And if the epistemology says, yes, it is about giving meaning and about interpretation, the philosophy of the combination of these two is social constructivism or interpretivism. Then this one, the last one, comes from the ontological assumption there are one or many realities, and they can be either measured or interpreted, and this is pragmatism. So this would be the main major philosophy approaches. Are you with me? Yeah? Is it clear? Is it correct? She was looking more or less. But it is clear. Okay. Unfortunately, the questionnaire that you had to do had 5, so these are the 3 main. But I had to go into, because I don't know what results you got from your questionnaire, so I had to present at least also the other 2, because there are in the questionnaire 5 philosophical approaches. And the other one was critical realism. And this is actually a combination of the an ontology. So ontology is a little bit different from positivism in the sense that it says, yes, there is a reality, and this reality I can observe, I'm actually not getting to the real reality, but how this reality is transferred in my observational world, in my world, in what I observe. And so I'm talking about a reality which exists there, but it is independent, but it needs to be somehow translated through, in the observable world, through perception theories and constructions. And he's giving examples here, saying, when I do a research study, yeah, even from the positive point of view, I want to measure something, but I'm trying to, to make my variables. I'm trying to control my variables. What is there that I'm going to observe? And I'm looking at methadone, for example, and I'm controlling that he has this kind of pain and so on and so on. But actually, and I will see at the end, yes, methadone works. But the reality, why it works, yes, I have some explanation. There are those receptors and I have I don't know what, but I'm not sure the ultimate reality. Yeah, I'm trying to research it and transform it into something, but it's not the last one, the final reality that I see. And then the other one, the postmodernist, I would associate this work with it, skepticism, because they say from the epistemological point of view, all the others say, how do I know this is true? But this one says, is there really an outcome? So it's challenging even, yeah, because you can say, yes, I know the truth because, in pre-modernist era it was revealed, or I'm measuring it through science and reasoning, and then is there really an ultimate truth? And in this slide, this comes again from the work of Mark Saunders. He's giving names for more easy understanding to the different philosophies. The positivist is the natural scientist. The critical realist is the archaeologist, so he's seeing maybe something, but it's more the observable, what's interpreting, it's what is behind the screen. The artists or the actors for the interpretivist, the militant for postmodernist, and the pragmatist is the architect combining both and measures. Okay? You can always You can always jump in and bring more. Okay, axiology. Axiology is about values. It's a branch of philosophy that studies values. And I think for us in research, we have this question. The values will guide our research. It will tell us what is meaningful and not what is valuable to do and how to spend our time, and what is valuable in the research results that we have. And they will shape also our interest. And now, so this was, if we're thinking about the onion, what we did in here, we were talking about the first layer. Now, the second layer is, what am I doing with my research? Am I having a deductive approach? This means I have a theory out there. My theory is that, I don't know, tramadol will work for, I don't know what medication, or what kind of patients. And then I have a hypothesis, and then I'm doing my experiment, I'm doing my analysis, and then I have the final yes, no, partially, whatever. So this is actually deductive approach. I start with the theory, and then I validate it. And I'm coming through, I'm testing it and validating. It's totally different if I'm looking at something and I wonder what is its meaning. And then I go into the context. I try to understand. I try to dig deep. I try to understand the context. I try to see if there are patterns and or themes that are emerging, and then maybe from going deep into this environment, into the context, talking to people, understanding perceptions, I come up with a hypothesis and I build a theory. I don't know. This would be probably the approach, the inductive reasoning, where from one observed, I'm trying to build new theories. And then abduction needs a combination of the two. Actually, the problem is complex, and I might go for what is happening, surprising factors or patterns that I'm finding out, building some theories, testing of the theories, and going back and forth. And here is, again, a summary. So positivists would be more looking at testing theories, would be more looking at quantitative research, observational or experimental. Interpretativists, these are the philosophies, these are the methods, these are the theory testing or theory developing, and these are methodologies, and these are how you are collecting your data. So you have for each of them. So critical realist, you have here with abductive or qualitative. You have here your documents, research, your observation, and can be many more. Yeah. Postmodernist, mainly quantitative, and it can be any combination and pragmatist. You have questions? No? Good. Then I have questions. Okay, so what we are going to do now, and I'm not going to move you around, maybe just bring some people here. There's a question? No? Okay. Yes, I'm not needing the microphone. What I'm needing now is for you to work in groups, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. Okay. I have 3 here. So,
Daniela, nu se mai aude. Sorry.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm eating the microphone. So what I expect for the next half an hour, actually it's 50 minutes group work and then it is reporting. I want you in groups, and we will bring probably Cosmin, would you like to join this group? Because you are 5 there, so that you can make a group. So Wanda, maybe you can make groups of 4 or 5, yes? And I want you to look at your results from your HARP test. And I want for you, each of you, to present your colleague, what is your, according to this test, what is your predominant philosophy? Because it would be one of the 5, major 5. It can be maybe not 1, it can be 2. And also what research philosophy do you disagree most? Because it is okay what you agree most, but disagree most. And then I want you also to discuss when you go into your teams and you don't do research, you do palliative care. But these are your assumptions about what is reality, what is truth. Yeah. How is that affecting the work in your team? If you come with different worldviews, with different assumptions, how is that affecting the work in your team? So is it clear? So discuss your results, what is the preferred and what is the less preferred, and see if, because I assume there won't be consensus in the group, and then think, how is this actually influencing your teamwork? Because sometimes, if we come from very strong ontological and epistemological values, and we look at a problem in the team, it might be there is conflict in the solutions or in what we perceive is the way to go forward. Yeah? Is there a question? No? Okay, so we have actually 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes for your group work, and then 2 minutes for reporting. Yes, what was in your group? I'm thinking maybe if you move from this team to a Romanian group, it will help people speaking in their own language. I think that's helpful. Yeah. So that you don't struggle. Is that okay, Valentina? Yeah? Or do you want to speak English? Because you decide. Yeah. I hope you had a good debate in your groups, and the purpose of this group work was actually to discuss about the philosophy, to realize, and first, we had an objective there, which was to assess our own research philosophy. And again, we used the tool. And the question is this tool validated for palliative care people? Is this validated for clinicians? I don't know. And the purpose actually is not to have to measure it, but to make you reflect on it and to make you discuss about it. Yeah, so it might not be the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth about yourself, but it is something you are thinking about. Yeah, how do I know it is real? My epistemology, what is real for me? What is reality? What is existence? Okay, so I want to hear your feedbacks, and Dimitra was saying, don't do it again, give them the microphone to talk, and I hope you have each group appointed a spokesperson. Yes, and please change the spokespersons. Yeah, if you had a spokesperson in the morning, change the spokesperson. Okay? Okay, it's still a person. Okay, so you can't change the spokesperson. Okay, do it your way. I'm flexible. Okay, please. What groups does want to start the reporting? Okay, here, and then we take also from Zoom.
We had a lot of discussion because some of the statements we were discussing a lot what they mean, some words, and we mentioned that it was challenging a little bit, but that the explanation also helped to maybe be more focused on the answers. Coming into account the different scores, we achieved that we are quite complementary because we have some interpretatism and some critical and some pragmatism. The one that we have lowest scores was about the positivist approach, but discussing, we were thinking of people involved in the clinical team that we could see that they will score higher in the positivist approach. So our view was that we are quite complementary, and we didn't feel identified, I think, so much with the exact samples of the archaeologists and that, but we found that it was useful also to communicate within us sometimes, because sometimes we found that even within people who have combination of two strong approaches like interpretivism and pragmatism, it was easier to talk with them, depending which were some of the other philosophies of some people. And we found that it was complementary, I think. And also we could see some differences between people who are more involved in research and people who are more involved maybe in clinical things. So it was a good experience, I think.
Thank you very much, Maria. And I like very much the way you put it, you know, saying that we are complementary. And I think once we make that step, it's helping the dynamic of the team. So understanding that through our different worldview, we complement each other, not we oppose each other, because sometimes in teams we get there. So thank you very much. And again, the instrument, I'm saying again, is an instrument which is not coming from our field. So maybe our next project is to do such an instrument, okay? There is always, we are learning what is available and what is not available. I think the next group who wanted to report was here.
So in this group, we all have higher score in critical realism, and the second one with pragmatism, modernism, and interpretivism. And yeah, we don't think this is a good point, because yeah, we have to be complementary in a team, and perhaps that because we are all thinking with this approach, we might see the reality not so. The lowest scores was in positivism. And here we think that this could limit our knowledge, our truth, this philosophy, and we are feeling that it keeps up in a safety box somehow. But of course, we agree that we need these people in our team.
Thank you very much. So this was quite a homogeneous group. They couldn't have conflicts, which is not the reality of the real world. Somehow they were, yeah, okay. And they need some positivist approach here, putting them to measure things and looking from outside and you know, looking at the nature, nothing. Yeah. Okay. Shall we take some group from the who wants to report from Zoom? Okay, I see that we have Margarita. She's volunteering. She's breaking the ice like last time. Thank you, Margarita.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, that's great. So I'm reporting again from a different group this time. There were 4 of us. We had interesting results, I think. 2 of us had the same results. We had the highest score in interpretism and the lowest score in positivism. One member of our group had the exactly different, had the highest score in positivism and pragmatism, and the lowest in postmodernism. One member of our group wasn't able to complete the survey, but also contributed to the discussion. So the 2 of us that had the same results with the highest score in interpretism, well, we interpreted our interpretism as skills that help us in our clinical work. the way we understood interpretism is as seeing in the world containing many different realities and many different ways of interpreting it. And we thought that that is helpful when you have to deal with different patients with a different background. But the interesting thing is that the other member that had different results and higher score in positivism also believed that working in a team, she also had the same approach as us. So even though we had different results, we didn't find how this applied in differences in our everyday work. We weren't able to talk about with which philosophy we disagree the most, because we don't believe we have a strong grasp on what each philosophy entails. So I think that's it from us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation and for your comment. We really appreciate what you're saying, that we are in a learning curve, all of us. And when it comes to this outer layer of the research onion, as I was presenting it, I think we are grasping the concepts and we have made our immersion now, but I think we are different in the way we are learning. Some of us would need more time to spend about reading about these things, about giving more examples of what is convincing us. This might be different. It might be not enough of presentation of half an hour, 1 hour, and an exercise. So thank you very much. Okay, another group from the Zoom.
We could go on.
Monica, please.
Hello, everybody. Well, we couldn't agree on which one to present to you, so we will do it all together. So Maria Andreas could help us.
Okay.
We forgot about it. So firstly, we compared our results on the HARP test, and we mostly agreed on most of the questions, and on some of that we had a different opinion. We talked about it, and it was a different way of understanding the question. So we mostly agreed on our answers. I don't remember, Maria and Andreas, the scores. So if you want to tell us which one.
I will go on, yes. The way I had 0 score in positivism and Andreas had 12. When I had 12 in interpretivism and post-structuralism and postmodernism, and we said that we might have different opinions and not different, but different ways of seeing things. But this is positive because we have a plurality in observing and understanding things, and this is good for a team. And for those who are not who cannot easily accept things, we can use some methods and some explanations in order to convince them.
Okay, thank you. Is there somebody else who wants to contribute from your team? Okay, that's the answer. So again, I think the message which is coming across, we have different worldviews, but they are our worldviews. So what about how is this helping with the patients? I think we can leave it on because we will we go now also take other groups from the room. Okay, Bogdana. Do you have the microphone, Bogdana?
Where's the microphone?
The microphone.
Okay, so I would like to speak for my team. Predominant research philosophy in our group was indeed pragmatist and interpretivist. Okay, lower points we have on positivism, apart from one member, Anka. She had a really good grasp on that, and I think this is very important because it will help. I actually picture us working in in a clinical thing, like a tumor board or having a debate, and it will be useful to have more points of view, and this way we can offer our care for the patient better, because we have to work in the benefit of our patient. And okay, I think this was for us. And what I want to say is, maybe, I don't know, after we do a little more study over this philosophy, because as a clinician, for me, it's clearly new. And if we take this test again, there is a possibility, at least speaking for myself, that the results might be different. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bogdana. Yes, this is actually what we heard also from the first group saying, you know, it wasn't clear, the test wasn't very clear before we didn't hear also some explanation. Okay, thank you. Okay, another group from the room. Okay, sorry, Dorina.
You know, for us, the lowest score was on positivism and the highest score in critical realism. The other three, we have an average result. I don't know to interpret very well this score, but I am sure also that I need to study more and to understand, to really understand what means each of meaning of philosophy. And also, I'm sure that after studying and experiencing, the score will be different.
You had a chance to think in your team what happens if we come with a strong assumption about what is reality and what is really convincing as truth in our team. I'm coming as a physician with a strong grasp. I'm coming as a nurse with a strong philosophy approach. I'm coming with
the microphone, Daniela.
I'm coming with as a psychologist with strong. Have you thought about? Have you seen that in your team? Is this happening? And I mean, different perspectives are. Maybe they are not related to our grasp of reality. They might be related to other things. But did you have a chance to discuss that, or maybe you were more focused on the test and what comes out of the test?
We've discussed more on what the test was.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have another team here.
So for our group, the score indicates that one member of our group was pragmatism, one interpretism, and three members at postmodernism. The lowest scores were found in critical realism, in positivism, and in interpretivism. What impressed us was the fact that also we have different approaches. However, we can all cooperate very well in that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. And I think we have on Zoom, I think we have one or two groups on Zoom. Juana, is there another group on Zoom?
Should be one more. I think the one with Elsa, Antonia, and Anka. I'm not sure. Margarita reported, and also Maria. So that one.
Okay. Is somebody from the group willing to report, or is it going to remain a mystery? Maybe somebody's
not a conclusion. Can you?
Okay.
Can you please, Margarita? Is your name?
Margarita reported already. So if that was the group, we had already the report.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it then. Okay, so we did the exercise. Thank you for doing this exercise and for taking this time to reflect and discuss about it. We are now trying to, okay, that's it. We have a few more slides to go. Okay, so we are moving now from the outer layers of the onion towards the inner part. And then we have this concept, method and methodology. And I remember when I started my PhD in Lancaster, I was suffering and suffering about this method and methodology. And what was frustrating, I never got a straight answer. I got more and more books to read to try to figure out what it is really about. So I put here some definitions about methodology and method. So the method is basically the systematic, the procedures that you undertake, that you do in order to undertake to get your research done. The methodology is more like an approach to gain your knowledge, to gain your end results, by taking in account, all the philosophy that you are underpinning in this study. So, for example, you can look for a more experimental methodology, and I want now to have your help. In this experimental methodology, what do you think what are the assumptions about the nature of reality and how the world is to be known? So if you do an experimental methodology where you want to prove that this is causing this effect, what kind of account, what do you take in account when you think about the nature of reality? Sheila?
I want to just say that my understanding of methodology and methods, if I can use an example, if you're cooking in your kitchen, methodology is about nutrition. It's the science underpinning how many calories, the balance between fats and carbohydrates and things like that. The method is the recipe that you use to make your cake. So when you want to make a cake, you have to take some flour, some eggs, some butter, mix them all together, and then put them in the oven. So the method is that procedure of what you do. Do you put all the ingredients in together and mix it all up? Do you put one in at a time? So it's the difference between the science and the underpinning and the procedures that you use to undertake a particular study. So I'm sorry that you had such a difficult time at Lancaster, but I hope you enjoy some cooking instead.
Thank you very much. So you are, this is really very helpful, and I think most of us do cooking, so this will stick with us, this explanation. Okay, so what would be the science behind an experimental method?
So you want me to answer again? Okay, so if I was going to use an experimental method and statistics, I think we've got a group here who wants to learn everything about statistics. You've come to the wrong course, I think, but it would be about the science of probability. So probability underpins statistics, and that's the rationale for using how you draw your samples, of random allocation. It underpins the science of the statistical testing that you use. So that is my understandings, but I'd be really happy if somebody else wants to give me a different answer.
Thank you very much. So now we understand who should have done the course. Okay, somebody else? Not daring? Quiet. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the chat. Maybe there are comments in chat? No? Okay. So when it comes about a method, you have here some examples, you know, and I think what Sheila told us about the recipe, how they are coming together is it's a very good analogy that we will keep in our minds. And the other thing that I found very interesting is this Iceberg of Research, where it says that we have to look at it like in the iceberg, what is on the top is just a small part of it. But what is below, which is keeping what is on the top up, actually the unseen part, they have, and what we worked trying to understand this concept was this unseen part. And I think Aliki will come also and shed some new light on this part. So here, what is usually reported in the paper is about this, the method, you know, how you did your cooking. Yeah, you want to comment, Sheila, on it?
I really like your slide. And the important thing to remember that the method's the bit that you put in the paper, which is what you say. But your method must build on all of those things. And what the problem is, if your method belongs to a different iceberg.
Exactly. And sometimes, and I think why most of you came to this course is first to make sense of this thing here. But what we are challenging you now is to understand that this method here might not be consistent with your philosophy approach that is beneath, with the way that you are building or testing your theory and your methodology, yeah, your science that is in it. So they have to be aligned. And again, I think what Sheila says, is it the same iceberg? I mean, is this from something which has a theoretical stand, which is not in your article? And in the articles, you can sometimes, you usually find this part here, but you find also references, but you have to read in between. Coletta?
I apologize to everyone if only myself I didn't understood the correlation that you, Sheila, made between methodology and the cooking thing. So you said the method, it's how we do and how we put the ingredients. But then for the methodology, you said it's the composition in nutrients and science. Yes, but how, for my mind, that's why I apologize to everyone if only myself didn't got it. So how do these two complete each other?
Okay, so you can, if we're talking about research, it's the science of the methods. So there's the science in that iceberg. You have a coherence between the philosophical underpinnings, which is what Daniela's been talking to us about this morning, then the theories that we're going to build on, like, and then you need to have the science of the methods that you use. So each method will have a scientific basis for it, and then the actual method. So if we use statistics, there are many different ways to design a trial, for example. A clinical trial is not one single approach. It would be, so you can have an N of 1 trial, you can have a cluster randomized control trial, you can have different sorts of trials, you can have a preference trial, but they're all based on a positivist philosophy, and they're based on a statistical notion of random allocation. So I think that's where, so it's the science, and I'm sorry if I've confused you by talking about cooking. Okay, so if, so yeah. Yeah, the other thing I was trying to draw the difference, but there's a difference between being a cook and following a recipe and being a nutritionist, where you understand the science of what foodstuffs are important for people. Yeah. I'd like maybe I want to give an example, and could you correct if it's a correct example of not? Like when we use a questionnaire, like the heart questionnaire, this is the method. We use the questionnaire, but the methodology is in fact how the heart questionnaire got to get used. So somebody did the theory and got the questions and validated it. So this is the is it true? This is the theory and then the methodology. And then at the end, the method, we say we use the heart questionnaire, but in fact, well, it's interesting that you're talking about the heart questionnaire. To me, the whole notion of something being measurable comes from a positivist or a critical realist perspective. So underpinning the heart questionnaire is a notion of psychometrics, is the science of it. Okay, so and then you can use that. So that would be the theory. So the methodology would be about reliability and validity and all of those things. Yeah, which you challenge. Well done. And then the actual method is you all completing the heart questionnaire and then giving us the results. Do you agree with that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I realize is I've gone over time. I thought we have till past, so I'm sorry for this. We have just a few more slides. So because I wanted to try, but maybe this is not important now. We will have in autumn, we will talk about research methods and what is beneath those research methods. I just wanted to come up with some, maybe for you, maybe some of you are very familiar because you do qualitative research, maybe some of you because you're coming more from the quantitative, from the world where quantitative research is appreciated, they are not familiar at all. So phenomenology, grounded theory, ethnography, so they are qualitative research methods, but they have different ways of looking at the reality. And I put here, you know, so ethnography, for example, is to understand the culture, and you immerse yourself in that culture, and you can collect data through various forms, observing what is happening, direct observation, by doing interviews, by keeping logs, by keeping diaries, so all these things. Yeah. Grounded theory is more, and you saw it also on the Research Onion, you look at different patterns and you build a theory out of that, you know, through different processes. And of course, the data you are collecting for getting the information probably are open interview, open interview, is that the correct time? In the, open question interview, I don't know. Yeah, probably that's the correct. And then phenomenology, you know, it's the meaning, trying to find the meaning of the lived experience. Yeah. So what does it mean, you know, to live with chronic pain, for example? Yeah, that would be a question. Yeah, it has in-depth conversation interviews, and then of course the data can be prepared in different forms. I think, yeah. When it goes to quantitative research, there are experimental designs and quasi-experimental design and observational designs, yeah, some non-experimental designs. And in order to have a randomized control trial, you have to have these things. You have the people to be allocated random. There has to be an intervention with a control group. So these are your experimental trials. The ones where you do just observation, either you do it longitudinally or you do it transversally. And I think for your master students, for your master thesis, most of you would not, you have to look at the resources. You would not, even if you're coming from medicine, you're not going into this. And then it comes to palliative care, it's even more complicated to do your randomized control trial. So what was the purpose of this session? It was mainly to clarify this part, the outer layer, but I tried also to give some, and the objective was to be able to define ontology, epistemology, axiology, to be able to say, to understand what is the ontological and epistemological approach of positivism, representativism, and pragmatism, to be able to define deductive, what is the purpose of a deduction approach or an induction approach, and to understand and to reflect more on these two layers on our own perspective. I think that's where we come. And I ended with this, even if we don't know them, even if we haven't thought about them, they underpin what we are doing, how we are behaving, because this is what do we think is truth, and what is convincing is this is the way we are going. So not knowing about them doesn't mean they're not existing. So I hope we have shedded some light, and I know this is a difficult topic. I'm usually very easily doing my presentation. I struggle with this topic, I must recognize. I did a lot of reading and tweaking and trying to make them as clear as possible. So, thank you very much. Do you have a question or do you have a comment? Valentina?
I made a parallel with our characters, like like we are choleric and
personality
our personality types. Do you think these assumptions and beliefs can be changed, or they are well in ourselves?
I mean, looking at myself, I think I changed my assumption. I'm sure when I came out of the university, I was somewhere either positivist or critical. I mean, I thought, there is one truth, one way of doing things. So I think I came more from that. But after working in palliative care, I'm really not there anymore. Yeah. I don't think that, it's this thing, everything that you can measure is important, and the things that you cannot measure are not important. It's not true anymore for me. Because I think that's one of the assumptions between quantitative research, behind quantitative research, you have to measure things. And you have to, but not everything that you measure is important, and not everything that you don't measure is not important. So for me, it's changed. I don't know for you, but for me, I can look in my trajectory. I think it changed. Okay.
I have a question. I was thinking if a person can have different aspects or assumptions in different areas, maybe in science or in the work. Maybe he's an optimist. I don't know, and at home he might have different thinking or beliefs.
This is assumption about what is truth and how something is convincing me this is truth. I think we have different personas, different ways of being, and I think this is one part of who we are. Again, I think we are very complex, and I don't think looking at our philosophy with art or with other instruments or reflecting on it is defining who we are. Yeah, but what is existence is one question. And I think we are not spending, especially in medical school, definitely not. We are not spending too much time thinking, about these issues, which are at the end of the day very profound issues. I think maybe we are spending some time when we are teenager, when we try to sort out reality, and I think then we are starting to ask this question, But then we become very busy learning and becoming parents and then maybe we have glimpse when we act due to our beliefs. So I think your question is complex. I don't know, we can't be defined just by this, but these are essential things which are inside us. Okay. Are there questions from the Zoom participants? No. So thank you for bearing with me for this session and for doing such a great job and doing the work. Thank you very much.